Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? It's a pleasure to have you here again. Um, a lot has been happening so far, still on the coronavirus, COVID 19, and on the protests in the US, and of course, China and US have been in the news this week, uh, where we had the White House Speaker, Advisor, Representative talking about the US China trade deal is no more. But then Trump tweeting that the US China deal is still intact, right? And then we had some spikes in the market as a result of that, right? We have some spikes in the market across board on the USD pairs, right? But notwithstanding, the market is still moving according to, of course, what it wants to do. And for Euro USD, what we're looking at here is an area of interest here to buy when it gets here for a buy, and then we take it higher, right? So let's see how that goes. We're just going to wait patiently for the market to retrace, right? Everything has to do with patience at the end of the day, right? And as we normally say, Euro USD and USD CHF, they tend to move in opposite directions most times. So things are still according to plan for both of them. Euro USD, we're looking forward to buying, while the USD CHF, we're looking forward to a retracement to this area here and then to selling it down, right? So we're just going to watch the two of them closely, and hopefully we get an entry on one or on two. And of course, you must always ensure that your risk management is properly calculated, right? Always check the news as well, find out what's happening in the fundamentals, anything coming out for the Euro USD or maybe the Switzerland francs. That will give you a clue as to whether to venture into that pair or not. So for the pound USD, looking forward to buying position, a retracement to this point and here. Most times, it's honestly when it comes to support and resistance, you don't have to draw all your levels. Just make sure that you pay attention to the levels that are key levels. That's what they call key levels. Pay attention to the key levels for that particular day or for that particular week. For this particular week, the last week more or less for June, even though it's going to be ending on May. This is the last week, but not the last trading day for June, right? It's normally a thing of buy above or sell below. So if I'm going to be looking forward to selling, I would like the market to come back all the way here, then retrace to this point, and then act as resistance here, right? So for now, the favor is in the buyers, and if this area doesn't hold, then of course I'm out, right? But we have to get an entry first of all, right? So now let's move on. Let's just flip through some other instruments. The Australian dollar, same as we have over here. The overall market, as we see here, is on the sideways, right? The overall market that we have here is sideways market if you look very well. But at the same time, you could always have uh, entries that you can jump into, right? Like for here now, as it's trying to retrace to this area here, and then we push higher, right? So we could be looking for a retracement to an area of support or an area of demand, right? So normally we have areas of support, areas of resistance, areas of demand, areas of supply that you can look for entries. As long as you know what you're looking out for, as long as you know the key areas to pay attention to, then you should know how to enter the market. And then for NZD USD, we had the official cash rate, and it was the same. And from that, we had this movement here. When you look at this candle, we had this movement here, and more or less, this was also from the spike from the statement from the White House advisor Navarro with respect to US and China. And you can see that the market is going back to this area to test it. So if this area should fail, this is actually a good area to place a buy. and you have your stop loss below this candle here. Well, if this fails, then you're out of the market, and if this should work from where it is, then good, because obviously you're going to have a better risk to reward ratio, as the areas of interest are here at this area of resistance. And who knows, it could just break, come back to retest, and then push higher, right? Only time will tell. Nothing much on the data, well, for today. Today is Wednesday. Nothing much on the data for the whole instruments, more or less. Well, of course, you know how the market is as usual. Expect the unexpected. We talked about USD chef already. Let's look at the dollar Sweezy. For the dollar Sweezy, interesting, as we've had the market move from one area of consolidation to another area of consolidation. And now when we had these areas of consolidation, you look very well, something happened after. The market gave out a fake out over here. This is for this week, a fake out here, and then it dropped nicely. So most likely now we're looking forward to an area here to sell, and then hopefully we get this position here, and then the market goes further now. We've already had a fake out here, right? So hopefully it's going to be another one here, and then here to retest and then push higher. But only time will tell, and of course we need to always pay attention to the fundamentals. The fundamentals are always key, right? And always good for you to pay attention to what's happening overall as well, just as a gauge as to what's happening. USD has been dropping for a while now because of all the protests, the unrest in the US with respect to the first killing from George Floyd, and then the rest of those that were killed, and Black Lives Matter, and the rest of them. Police injustice, basically. So the US now, well, has not been doing too well, economy fearing as of now, but let's see how it still goes. USD card, we have a lot of sideways movement here, and this is on the long term. On the long term, we have this major sideways movement here, which seems to be giving us some kind of fake outs, or we're not even sure what's happening. We had this little fake out, but you know, normally it's always best way for a retracement and then further down, but then it pushed back in. The pushback in is now at an area of interest. If you mark this area here, draw your horizontal line across these areas I'm circling, you should see that we have an area of interest here. So as we have this here, let me even mark this area of interest here. This is it here, something around here, where you can see the flip zones. Flip zones are areas that act as support and resistance at the same time. So from here, let's see whether the market drops. So this would be a good area to enter, and probably a stop loss could be around here, and then take profit here, or worst case take profit here on this spike from the 10th of June. That was about 3 weeks ago, thereabout 2 to 3 weeks ago, right? So 2 weeks ago rather. So now from what we have here, let's see how this area goes, and you can look for price action that could signal you to sell over there. And then finally, we're looking at gold. Gold has been doing a lot of on the higher time frames, that is like on the weekly, it has been doing a lot of sideways movement, and now look very well, it seems to be breaking out. Even on the daily time frame, it seems to be breaking out. So as it's moving now, showing us the breakout, we still need to be careful on this time frame 1 hour, which I totally adore. I love the 1 hour time frame. It's not too fast or not too slow. Now we should be looking forward to a retracement to this area, and then from here see whether we get an entry to go long. At the end of the day, patience is all it takes. You have to be patient for the market to do what it wants to do, and then what we as traders are going to be doing is to react to the market. So we are more or less reaction traders, right, and not impulsive traders. We don't make moves, or rather we follow the moves. So this is what we have for you from the majors and gold that we normally watch. As I said, nothing much on the data for today. Look out for Trump. Maybe he might tweet something again today, who knows. He might say something again about US and China, because of course we have been getting mixed information with respect to US and China, where China hasn't been doing their own part on the purchases, and also with respect to China, Hong Kong, and then the US too, coming into the protest what China is trying to do to Hong Kong to implement the laws on them and all. But notwithstanding, let's see how this week goes. Let's see whether we could get anything concrete in the market. And if we do, of course, we will do an update to this week's market analysis. So if this video was helpful for you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell. Then when another video is posted, you get the information firsthand and then you take advantage of it. Watch this video over and over again. Click the like button and do ask questions if you have any. Right? So thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of the day and be safe. COVID-19, be safe. Thank you. Goodbye.